Hi, this is Heather Staker from Ready to Blend. This tutorial is about finding the best learning software and online courses for your fully virtual classroom or blended classroom. It's brought to you by the Wisconsin Resource Center for Charter Schools, WRCCS, and the Wisconsin Digital Learning Collaborative. This tutorial helps you find the best online courses and lessons from outside providers for your online or blended program. It really focuses on integrated, packaged, bundled content as opposed to curating or building your own playlists using this or that learning objects that you find online. If you're interested in building your own playlist, I encourage you to look up other modules that are focused on that. But this one's really looking at procuring content that's already been assembled for you to deliver a blended or online classroom. My first tip for you is to search for prepackaged content using an index that lets you sort and filter. Don't just go online and use the search bar and randomly try to find the content that you need. You can do that, but it wastes a lot of time when there are organizations that have already done a lot of the legwork for you. So take advantage of them. For example, the EdSurge Product Index. I love EdSurge. They have a great couple of newsletters that I subscribe to, and their product reviews are really tremendous. So if you search for the EdSurge Product Index, they do curriculum reviews, and they review several types of products. So online gradebooks, student information systems, as well as just learning software. It's a great place to go for seeing the full menu of what's out there. Not full, but they have a lot of resources, as well as their reviews of what they like and don't like about each of the products. Next recommendation, Common Sense Media. This site began as a resource for parents to identify with common sense what kind of movies, video games, all of that digital stuff that we want our kids to be using or not using. And then they opened up a nice site for educators to say, how about when it comes to education, what is the software that we should use and not be using? And then also other resources like digital citizenship, privacy, things like that. Common Sense Media is a must check for both parents and educators and a great index for starting the search for the best online courses and lessons. The next is the What Works Clearinghouse. This is a government funded one, ies.ed.gov. So it sounds like a nice government website, but I do think they do a great job. Their goal is to help us make evidence-based decisions. I do want to caution you about assuming that what works or does not work in the classrooms that are explored in their research studies necessarily translates into what will work or will not work in your circumstances. You might have very different circumstances and be the anomaly. So just be cautious, but to a large extent, the research that they have on there can be very helpful. Other cautions, it's not meant to provide pros and cons for specific curricula. So it's really meant to provide educators with the best evidence that we have at a given time. Also, the majority of the studies covered only cover the first year of implementation, which is arguably the least stable year. So take those things in mind, but I like the idea of assembling all of the content and evidence into one place so that we don't have to do so much legwork ourselves to find the research. What Works Clearinghouse. Okay, pro tip number 2, don't overlook open education resources. OER, open education resources, include e-textbooks, videos, animation, rubrics, simulations, assessments, and other tools that support teaching and learning. They're free. They can be used, reused, mixed, and otherwise customized and modified to meet specific needs. Now, OER, remember that because they're free, oftentimes not as much research and development went into them, not as much funding went into them, not as many years went into creating a lot of these resources as the content that companies like Rosetta Stone, for example, have put millions of dollars into developing just the first year of a Spanish course. So I want to caution you that the quality is not always there, but sometimes you find a real gem. So I want to just make sure you know about it so that you can use those resources if they're helpful to you. You might say, why would any publisher want to open its content and make it free and usable and remixable? And really it's because it gets that content out there. So it distributes it more, it gets authors' names out there, it's more likely to be shared and linked. If it's government funded and they're rewarded for just traffic, this can be a great way is by making it OER. How do you locate OER? Well, increasingly there are free online courses. Oftentimes they're massive open online courses, MOOCs, that are provided for free or for a small charge. And you can search for those. There's a nice website on Medium that says the 50 best free online university courses according to the data. I would recommend you look at that just to see a list. Some high schools and even middle schools are using these online courses in their as part of their curriculum. There's a high school nearby me in Texas that has free online courses that uses free online courses for Biology 1. So they use Khan Academy Science, they use Bozeman Science, Crash Course videos, Modern State videos to supply their Biology 1. So that's just one example. Other resources, OER Commons, Learning Registry. There's several state sites that list OER, so Engage New York, Indiana Digital Content Curation, Utah's Open Textbook Project, and Wisconsin WiseLearn. Those are all places to look to at least see what's available OER so you can make a decision whether or not any of that could work for you. Pro tip number 3, evaluate prepackaged content in a systematic way to find the best fit for your circumstances. This tutorial doesn't go into content evaluation so much as just finding the content, but look for it in the next tutorial because it's really important that we review the content really well and vet it to find the content that works best in your circumstances. So takeaways from this tutorial: search for integrated, packaged, bundled, prepackaged courses and content using an index. Don't just have at it on your own. You'll miss a lot of the legwork that other organizations have done for you. Don't overlook OER. Sometimes the OER resources can be very valuable, and then evaluate those resources very well. This is Heather Staker from Ready to Blend. Thank you for joining me as we learn more about finding the best online courses and lessons for our fully virtual and blended classrooms.